And so what I'm going to be talking about today is about considering the big questions of what you should think about when you're looking at a new market for real estate. Now, I've done other videos on topics like this before, like how do you analyze properties quickly. I keep promising this, and I will do this eventually, is to get a nice spreadsheet together where I'll show you step by step how I analyze properties, whether it's a local market or something farther away. Now, I'll just be upfront with you. My experience is local, and that's in the Midwest, especially in Illinois. I do not know the laws and regulations and the numbers of other states. I have looked at other states besides Illinois. I've really considered other Midwestern states such as Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma. I've considered Indiana, Tennessee, and Kentucky, but I have not looked at those really closely yet. But if you have some thoughts on those markets, on any of the towns around different areas, or any markets in any towns in any of those states, please tell me down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Okay, so number one is location. One of the things I'm looking for is it near a larger city that is solid? So where I'm investing at is in between multiple cities where there is some smaller towns, smaller cities, and there's a couple larger cities nearby as well. Couple metropolitan areas. Why am I looking at this area? Well, because it is a lot of success with like jobs. You have a stable job market where I'm at. It's not growing like crazy, like in some areas of the country, but it's not shrinking either. It's growing a little bit. It's not stagnant. It's growing a little bit, but not a ton. That helps with stability in the market, stability in the housing world as well. I know my numbers. I know what the houses are valued at in those areas. The second thing I'm looking for is the area. Like, is the area safe? If I'm looking for a new property in, let's say, a large city, I'm looking at different properties, different streets, because if I'm in a large city, one street or one block could be a super safe block that you could do some sort of Craigslist transaction at 12 o'clock midnight, and a tenth of a mile away, it's dangerous. So that's the second thing, is make sure it's safe. And the easy check is, can you do a Craigslist transaction in the middle of the night at that location? If you can't, if you're feeling safe, maybe don't invest in that area. So those are two items. Make sure it's near a big city. Also, the third item that I want to talk about is by a big city, is I often don't invest in the big city itself. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I don't really invest in the big city myself. Now, I'm not saying I have zero investments in the big city. I do. I have a few properties. I'm closing on one in a little larger city. When I say large, I'm talking about I'm not talking about a village or something like that. Most of my properties are in smaller villages or really small towns. I'm not into the bigger cities. I do have a multi-complex in one city. I don't really like it though. I like the numbers. It's really good, but it's a solid property. But I'd much rather deal with small towns. The income is great. The property prices are a little less. Yes, equity or increased value of the property will go up slower in a smaller town setting, but in the same time, it is a good investment, solid investment, especially for cash flow, which is I'm primarily investing in cash flow. Okay, so I'm not so much investing in appreciation, even though that's secondary in my mind. I want financial freedom. I want cash flow. Now, the third thing or fourth thing, I guess, that I would be looking at is the numbers. The 1% rule, especially in the Midwest, still works great in a lot of places. That means if you buy a house for $100,000, 1% of that is $1,000, which means that you want to get $1,000 of rent per month minimum. I think, especially in Illinois and the rest of the Midwest, you probably could easily get the 1% rule, if not even better. You probably could even get maybe a 1.5% rule, maybe even in rare cases, a 2% rule. It just depends on your property. That's number two. So that'd be fourth item on my list. Number 5. Here's another one that I think is kind of a one that I try to think about, but sometimes I have to just take what's given to me. You want to buy the quote unquote worst house on the best street. So if you have a really nice street that has some really nice properties, or at least solid, good properties, and if you can buy the worst house on it, fix it up, and make it just as valuable as the other ones, you possibly could make quite a bit of margin off that property by buying a bad house on a good street. The next thing I want to talk about is, let's see here. What else would I talk about here? I would consider when I'm looking at houses is the loan value, like how much interest are they charging on? If the numbers work, I'm okay with it. So I run the calculation to make sure the numbers work. If they don't work, I don't even consider it. I don't let my emotions take over. I try to let my emotions go to the back, and so try to logically think through this and not pull a trigger on a house I really love. Like, no, I need to actually make the numbers work. So don't let your emotions run you. So that's running numbers. Putting the numbers in the calculator is really important. Always check out the insurance. Check out, have good assumptions for insurance, taxes, HOA fees, repair costs. Sometimes I buy a house and the repair costs are way lower than what I was expecting. I'll say the majority of the time, though, is a little higher than what I was expecting consistently. Like if I'm assuming it's going to be $5,000 to repaint the house and maybe refloor it, it might be way more than that. It might be $10,000. So you might want to assume like $10,000. If you think it's going to be $5,000, assume $10,000 so you're prepared for those extra expenses and unexpected things as well. All right. So those are some big items that I would consider. Now, there are many other things I consider as well. If you have more, please share them down below. Also down below, I have a financial freedom blueprint or roadmap that may help you get out of your 9-to-5, or maybe let you at least have that freedom to work your 9-to-5. Like right now, that's where I'm at. I have the freedom to work the 9-to-5. I'm needed where I'm at, so I'm still working. They really want me to stick around just because my job is a little more specialized. But on the other hand, I don't have to be there if I don't want to. It helps me get mortgages easier with that W-2 income. But even now at this stage, I think that is kind of a non-issue because I have enough properties and enough equity in those properties that I think that is not going to be as big a deal for me going forward. So if you want to be in the same position I'm at, just follow the blueprint that I have down below. It's free for the taking. Just go snag it. And lastly, check out other videos on this channel and tell me what else you want to see. Like if you're thinking for financial freedom, what big topics are you looking for? What big topics do you not see out there on YouTube? What are some things that you would love to hear about, or at least get my opinion on? With that, I'd like you to have a great day and talk to you later.